That was cute. I was over there watching Leah. She's doing her outtake for that video. And she was still like talking to the camera. She's so adorable. Okay, good morning and welcome to the last Sunday in September. And thank you, Tamara, for that wonderful morning meditation. I could see why you would go to that very often. That's very uplifting. And everything is possible. In fact, the topic of this talk today is Mission Possible. And so if I could let me just check and see if I can turn off original sound. There we go. That way you won't hear any echoes. The idea of missions being possible was dropped in our brains. I know when I was a young child and we would sit around the TV and watch the original TV showings of the Mission Impossible. This mission, should you choose to accept it? And but that one it was an impossible mission that somehow they would pull it off by the end of the episode. And what's interesting is a lot of times when we are presented with something, because we can't see the big picture and we can't see where everything's going, it starts to feel a little dreadful. If you look underneath sort of the hood of things and you're like, wow, how would any of this stuff work? It looks convoluted, chaotic, and messy. How could this be part of some divine plan? Well, that's where we start to know that there's something bigger going on. There's something bigger than what we can see happening. And maybe we don't know everything. Maybe what it looks like isn't what it is. And that is a very good insight to have because, I mean, it's called hope is what they're calling this. This whole context of, well, maybe I don't know everything, and I'm hoping things turn out for the best. Now, when we hope for things, we still do what we can do in our little world of the circle of control. Anything that we have control over, that little circle of control, we're going to do that. But it's the circle of concern that's outside of our control. I would say that that's what keeps us up at night. If you're concerned about something and you don't have any control over it, what do? Good thing there's some people that got together and came up with what to do about it. And then they wrote it down and then they made books and then they started teaching everybody else. Yeah, welcome to Science of Mind /CSL, Center for Spiritual Living. So I have something to read to you from Margaret Naguib. There's a G there, so I'm going to say Naguib. She's a psychiatrist / doctor. She wrote a book called The Power and Science of Hope. And the subtitle is Mind Wise. Okay, so it's a bit of a lengthy thing, but I think it will set the tone. And then I have a few little surprises for us for the rest of this talk. So she says, the most intriguing piece of advice that I ever received as a counselor in training came from one of my favorite professors. He told me in the very first session, always give them a little magic. Now, that's an interesting choice of words. The more I thought about the concept, the more the idea excited me. Magic messes with your head. It messes with the impossible by making it appear possible. When in crisis, despair, struggling with insurmountable problems, or even the daunting task of navigating or creating change in ourself or in our life situation, a little magic goes a long way. So I will let you in on a little secret, she says. The magic that he was talking about, the magic we all need in our lives, is actually not so magical at all. It is something much more powerful than magic, and it is quite real. It is the power and science of hope. It's the voice of hope in an otherwise hopeless situation that either whispers or shouts, anything is possible. Researchers in the field of positive psychology have posted that hope is the single most important feeling state. She goes on to say, individuals who have significant levels of hope are more physically healthy and less susceptible to disease. They perform better academically and athletically. In fact, elite athletes score exceptionally high on psychological measures of hope, indicating that raw talent, grit, or even optimism without hope is insufficient when pursuing difficult goals. Yeah, she finishes this with research also indicates hope is positively correlated with self-esteem and healthier relationships. Hope increases the sense of meaning in life and identification and realization of goals and dreams, and even in the midst of adversity. Individuals with high hope set loftier goals and are more likely to realize them. That's because hope is a better predictor of success than intelligence or innate ability alone. Hope. When I said high hope, I reminded myself of that childhood song. He's got high hopes. I know, can't help myself. There's a little cartoon running around in my head at all times. But it makes sense that they would plant these seeds, that these little songs and little ways of kind of making things easy to remember, the little engine that could, and the high hopes for the little ant that wants to move the rubber tree plant. Seriously, it's in there. It's in there deep. What is it about that? Because we want our children, we want for the best of us, the youngest of us, the most impressionable of us, to know that there's something bigger and better than what they're feeling, that in this moment they might be feeling despair. But that's not the truth. That's not the truth. Now, I get it. In the midst of it, it feels like this moment is the only moment there is, and it's going to be terrible. We cannot imagine when we're being in despair. We can't imagine not being in despair. That's the problem, trying to do things all by ourselves. Because when we're in it, we can't see perspective. And this is why we need each other. Because any sort of sense of hopefulness can be squashed with the first self-doubt that you come across. But if you've linked up with friends and loved ones who know the real you and who believe in you, then when you're having that moment of doubt about yourself, then that's when your friends and your loved ones can say, hey, stop talking about my friend like that. Because it's not true. We can easily get caught up into some false evidence appearing real. It's called fear. We get stuck and frozen. And then we realize, oh, my bad. Shoot. Never mind. I was watching a show. Have you been watching The Gilded Age? I just recently been like dropped into The Gilded Age. Don't ask me how I got there, but I got there. And they showed how in this show, it's the industrialization age. The first moving picture where a train appeared to be coming at the audience terrified the audience. They showed it. It was so great because I'm now on like season 2 and I've become invested in the characters. And so when they get afraid because the train's coming at them, I start to really feel, wow, I bet that was kind of scary. Because in the moment, you don't have context. You've never seen a moving film. You don't need, listen, y'all were getting excited about filament and light bulbs. So this was a big old deal for you. I get it. And there you were looking at that screen and everything in your body told you that's coming at me. That's great. But then you laughed and they grabbed each other and just relief, the relief that was felt when they realized, whew, that's right. Come on. It's a film. It's a moving film. And then they high-fived and laughed. What am I getting at? I feel like here we are in our depth of despair, whatever it is for you when you wake up or you tell yourself a story or something, and then you start to follow that idea like it's real. It's The rest of us, your community, it's our job to grab you and say, it's not real, it's a movie. And then you're supposed to go, oh, ha, my bad. Whoa, it got me. We know that the truth about ourselves is that we're divine, we're holy. Inside each and every one of us is this pure emanation of the Creator itself. The Creator did not and does not have a principle based on sickness, therefore making sickness one of the base realities of life, making it necessary. That's not a principle. Sickness is not a principle. If it were a principle of the divine, then we would not naturally heal ourselves. The body would not naturally heal itself. If sickness were a high principle, it would be a home that is divided against itself. It would not be able to stand. You can't have two principles. One principle, the highest principle, is the truth, and all those other appearances are indicators of, oh, you're out of alignment with the truth. Let's snap that back together, huh? Shall we? And then, of course, our teaching says that you don't have to eschew medicine and run away from surgery because that's part of the realignment process, which, fine, do what you need to do. The divine is in all the things, the doctor, the medicine, the surgery, and all the things. But there's no divine perfection that's called sickness or disease. It's not lack. There's no loneliness or despair as the highest truth about us. It's only all that stuff that we tend towards. It's all the stuff that we want for ourselves and each other. And it's all possible. It's all absolutely possible. And it's already happening. The other chestnut is it's already happening. We already have it. We don't have to go anywhere to get it. The divine perfection, the health, the wholeness, the friends, the love, the highest in all of us is already in us. We just have to get busy tossing out the things that are not like that. And it's a mind game. Now, I've talked about me. I've said all over the times that we've talked together about how this thinking has changed my whole world in a way that's much more enjoyable. I can't even imagine where I would be without this teaching. And so, enough about me. I've invited some of our people that you've seen before to tell their story. How has your life changed based on the teachings that I just talked about, the truth about what I just talked about? And I'll call Tamara up on stage here. Let me add her to the spotlight. We'll be side by side for a second. Hey, Tamara.
Hi, hello, hello.
So,
Oh
it's
my
good.
goodness.
Thank you for doing this. So, what story would you like to tell about how you transformed? You could take a whole 5 minutes. We would love to hear all about it. Let us know.
This was hard to even put the words into a story because there's so many ways. Um, Finishing up teaching, change your thinking, change your life. I went back to that because that's what it all comes down to. Um, from the time I walked into CSL Leesburg to where I am now, folks who know me know that there's been a very dramatic change. I'm so happy. I'm living my very best life. And I'm happy from the tips of my toes to the top of my head. And my light shines so brightly and so strongly because I learned how to love myself. And that's something that I didn't have before I walked into CSL Leesburg. I knew how to put on a smile. I knew how to fake it. I knew how to find moments of joy, but I think the difference was they were all external sources. And then as soon as that moment was over, I was back to me. And I really wasn't happy. Deep down inside, I knew something just wasn't right, wasn't living my best moment. And I think back to what we often say, things were happening to me and it seemed all beyond my control. And I thought of that Katy Perry song, Firework. Do you ever feel like a paper bag drifting in the wind or plastic bag drifting in the wind? And that was me. And I just didn't know it was a firework. So taking the class, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life, all the other classes that I took, continuing on my journey, showing up on Sundays, getting involved, with our service, becoming part of the leadership council, becoming a practitioner, everything just helped me to take those old negative thoughts um, about I'm not worthy. That would keep coming back. I'm not worthy. I'm broken. I'm not good enough. And slowly, like that piece of broken glass that gets tumbled and tumbled and tumbled by the ocean and gets rolled around the sand and becomes smooth, there was this dramatic transformation. And I hear over and over again from people that you're such a joy, you're always happy, you're always smiling. And I think that's the difference, because it's no longer faked, it's no longer a moment. I find joy in everything. I find joy in almost everybody. Every now and then there's a oops, and then I catch myself and I go, no, 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 no. You don't know what that person's going through. You don't know what their journey is. You don't know what role they're playing. Thank you for the reminder. Thank you for the reminder that I have to be positive. Thank you for the reminder that I need to slow down. Thank you for the reminder that my day can affect others and leave a lasting impact. So slowly, that to me got tumbled out, and I started creating and making choices. And oh my gosh, now I'm living in that as me and through me. And there's just so much joy and happiness in everything that I do. And it all started that first little day that I walked into CSL Leesburg, and Reverend Charlene, who was not Reverend then, but Charlene just happened to be the guest speaker of the day. And I was like, yeah, this is it. This is what I've been searching for. I found my tribe. So I joke sometimes that I'm the poster child for transformation.
Same. Right. So Tamara, here, just quick question to illustrate. Before you found CSL, your mantra might have been like, I am what? And then after CSL, your mantra is more like, I am.
It was I wasn't worthy. And when
Oh,
in those initial classes, when you had to write down something, what's an old belief? What's your
yeah.
shadow? What's that negative belief that you carry around? So often, if I look back through the notebooks that are behind me, it was I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy.
Right.
And now when I say that at the end every Sunday, I am a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to the day in which I live. I feel that.
You're like, that's true.
So that's the difference. And the neatest thing is people notice. People notice you are so happy.
Yeah.
How do you do that? You are such a joy. So that's
Well,
that's my story.
Yay, Tamara. I appreciate you. She's also the president. She's been the president of the board way longer than is like humanly like required. But I appreciate you. And as a practitioner and my co-teacher, I can't imagine teaching the classes we teach without you. And so if we were together, I'd be putting a ring of flowers around your neck and just kissing you on both sides of your cheek and saying, you are precious, you are loved, and thank you for your service. All righty.
Absolutely.
All right. The next person on stage I'm going to invite is Erin, and she is our second and final person here. Hi, Miss Erin. How you doing?
Good.
You are the voice of wisdom in many groupings. Erin, I want to just say really quick, not only is she the part of the pajama outfit of the soul. I don't know if you're the top or the bottom of the soul pajamas. Maybe you're the nightie. Who knows? But she's got that soul, like she sings as if there's a black woman in that body just trying to get out. And also, I say that to her all the time. She's not surprised. Also, the way you show up for us, Erin, on our Saturday mornings, and you just bring an energy of insight, interest, and compassion to our dream study. Shout out to Erin, amongst other things. These are just two things. And she's also on the board. Erin, can you tell a story about how CSL has changed your life?
Well, Tamara did such a great job of basically explaining the journey that one goes through. once you glom onto the practices and you walk in, you walk into that space. For me, this is now in the 80s. Okay. So my perspective is kind of long. And I have to tell you, it's been so long that I sort of don't remember. In other words, the practices are like totally embedded now. But and by the way, I met Dan. We both met within the New Thought context. We met, and he was at Unity, and I was at a different Unity, and then we ended up very shortly after that. So this would have been in the 90s, ending up at the Falls Church Center for Spiritual Living, and we've been religious science ever since. And they're both good teachings. But the trick is, I would say, just jumping off of what Tamara said, if you'd asked me how I felt before, it was that life is tough. You got to fight your way through. And the armored Amazon in me, which is a big part of my inner family, was like, okay, we're going to go out there and we're going to battle and we are going to get what we want. And it's going to be a struggle, but by golly, we will fight our way through. Well, that's a pretty exhausting way to live your life, and it's not very fun. So it was kind of a relief to find out that by flipping the switch and looking at things differently through the religious science or New Thought lens, that I could then, it was a whole nother approach. It was, what is it you want? What is the vision? What is best for you and the planet? That kind of thing. And then how do I hold that vision so that I can get there? Well, that's a real big change. And I've almost forgotten how big it is, because it's been so long. But, and that would include, I feel sure that Dan and I connected partly because of that internal shift. In other words, if I had been my usual, because I'm not I do not have Tamara's beautiful, light, uplifting energy. I've got kind of tough girl energy. And so, if I hadn't been a New Thought, I'm sure Dan would have run the other way and said, I don't know what's wrong with that woman, but I don't have anything to do with her. But anyway, so so there's the practices, and I cannot stress enough how life-changing the practices are. And you do have to stick with them. But here's the other thing I just was thinking about this morning. Having lived different places, for all the years we lived in DC, and since we've been married for sure, which is almost 30 years, we have been surrounded by New Thought people. That's pretty much all we hang out with. And now that we've moved up here and we have all these wonderful friends, new friends, many of whom are not spiritual, I'll use that word for lack of a better word. But what I've really discovered is that if I just had relationships with people that were based on the brain, right brain, what do you call it? Pedestrian experience of, today I did this and I had a problem with that. And, this is me, whatever. The way most people live and the way a lot of people think, it's really, it's lacking for me. It's totally lacking something. So I have no longer any interest in those kinds of relationships. And even if those people aren't New Thought, there has got to be a spiritual component in that person's MO.
That's right.
I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't be around. It's sort of like, it's not that I don't appreciate them or admire them or blah, blah, blah. And that's the thing I realize now as I get older, it's that community. So that community of people who are seeking in the same way and want to operate in the world the same way. And that is, and particularly now,
yes,
God,
right.
Without that, you would feel, just like jumping off the roof or something.
That's the hopeless part. How would you have hope if you were secular, so secular that all you know is what you can see and touch? Well, then you must be horrified right now.
Yeah. And so that's what, when my conversations with my friends in my age group or younger, it's all about this perspective you talked about. In other words, what's happening now, okay, let's put it in a larger,
That's right.
universal oneness, spiritual perspective. And
That's right.
then it actually is it's you can handle it, that's how I feel. So I would say that's the other element I usually never talked about, was that community thing that's created. And you're everywhere, you don't have to be my neighbor, you don't have to be next door, you don't have to be across the street.
Right.
You are,
Yeah.
and however we connect, that is available. And I think in today's world, it's a lifeline that everybody should cultivate. That's my feeling. And the only way to do it is to participate like this. Now, maybe there's lots of other venues to do this. I don't know. This is my experience. I've never done anything else.
Yeah.
Buddhists and city yoga and Hindus and,
No, sure. I mean, I'm the same way, Erin. I'm like, well, I guess I could look around, but these people had me at hello. So why would I go? Why?
Yeah, right, exactly. So.
Yay! Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you and all you do, the way that you stepped up, and you're on the board too. So our board member has a whole three of us. Oh my God. We're supposed to have more, but the fact that we can do it at this lightweight skeleton approach and still not drop any balls, it's because of the team. And I thank you for being on the team. Thank you so much. Wow. So that was super fun. And I just am so grateful for everyone in our community, especially those who stepped forward today to let you know, like, reflect. Why are we here? Why do we do what we do? And after we finish this official service, like Tamara will do, she'll talk to you about this in the announcements part. But I do hope that everybody who's online, not inside Zoom, definitely ends up in this Zoom room, because this party shall continue. For now, let's just go within and do a closing prayer. I'm so grateful, grateful, grateful for everyone present in our community. I know that we are so blessed that each and every one of us is unfolding and awakening to that power that is already within us. That power that once we awaken to it and we grow into our true self, then we have no choice but to look up and say, I see God in you. I am one with you. How can I help, my dear beloved? That we become of service to one another in our small community, and that community starts to stretch and it becomes the way that we see the world. And that by changing ourselves, we change our whole entire vibration, and then higher and higher things come to us, and they come through us, and then they live as us. These high vibrational energies now become the order of the day, the order of our lives. And it would feel weird if we did not have that throughput, that energy vibing through us at that high level. And that's what we're cultivating here. Yes, it looks like fun. It looks like a lot of parties, and it is all that. Because Spirit, the divine, moves in through and as us and wants the highest and best. Turns out that looks like joy. It looks like peace, love, and well-being. And we know that anybody who is not feeling that in this moment, that the truth about you and the truth about me is that we are perfect, whole, and complete. And we just are here to unfold more of that. And so I'm so grateful for all of this awareness. I'm grateful that I get to watch it unfold, and I'm grateful to be part of such a powerful, mighty, mighty group. I release my word into the law, knowing that these are simply seeds that will and have started already to blossom and to break forth in fruit. I release my word, letting it be, and so it is. Ashe. Let's hear from Leah.